Welcome back, or welcome to the Pulse on Human Design. If this is your first time listening, we appreciate you for being here. And today I've got a juicy episode for you with Andrea Slate. Andrea is back for part 4 of our onboarding and how to hire a VA and all things VA. So today she's going to walk us through exactly that. Now you've got your VA. You've got the tasks set aside that you know that you need your VA for. How the heck are you going to get this person into your business so that it goes reasonably seamlessly for everyone involved? So welcome back, Andrea.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Let's just do a quick little refresh on your human design, just in case somebody hasn't listened to
Sure.
the first 3 parts.
So I am a 2-4 sacral manifesting generator, whoa, with all individual circuitry.
And you've been working in project management and business management for over a decade, well over almost 2. Yeah.
13 years? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a long time. In the corporate scale and then stepping out on my own to support businesses as well.
Okay, so I would love to hear from you these 7 steps that you've identified on how to onboard VAs, because you know this is
Mm.
something that I continually need to learn my lessons around.
So I would invite you to give yourself a little bit of grace around dropping the ball on onboarding in the past, because it's most commonly what gets dropped. Even
Mm,
people who are great at hiring and finding the perfect VA and the perfect team support seem to miss they still need to be onboarded, right? Like there's so much that you do that you just do because you know it. You've been wearing all these hats. It's your business, it's your baby. They don't know it that intimately and they need to be given the chance. So
well, and I
today's
think
episode.
also, as a manifesting generator who just goes and does the things, that's a lot of my design. Sometimes we can fall into the pattern of expecting other people to just be able to get out of the gate and just go. And not everyone can or should be doing that. So when we really take the time to bring the person into our world and show them how it's done and how we want it done, it makes all the difference in the world for that entire, not just the workload, but the relationship moving forward.
So tip number one is to set up your task management system or a method. It doesn't have to be a formal system so that you can clearly define and share tasks with your VA. They will need to have access to this, obviously. So you're also going to grant them access, their own login, and they're going to need to know how to use it if it's new to them. Now, there's lots of free ones out there, or free versions. You don't need a paid one if you don't have this massive team. Trello,
Mm.
Asana, ClickUp are pretty common. Slack, or you could use a Google Sheet. It really doesn't have to be fancy, but pick one thing
Mhm.
where everything can live, so that it's very, very clear from the get-go that that's where tasks are and that's where updates are.
And I think you've alluded to this in other episodes or spoken to this in other episodes, but the other thing that I would say is one communication place.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great like side tip.
Yeah.
Pick one place for communication. And this is something that I know you and I have done because we'll have personal communication and business communication.
Yeah.
So if it is someone in your life where you already have a relationship with them, it can be great to say, okay, we're going to talk business on WhatsApp and email, and we're going
Mhm.
to keep our text for, hey, can we go to the movies on Friday?
Yeah. Yeah, really important. Even if you're not in a personal relationship with the person, it's important because then you know where to check. If they have a storm where they live and their internet goes out, if they have a sick child and they can't work or for some reason, you're not left scrambling through all the places. Or if you haven't used this task management system, ask me how I know this, and you've got things all over the place. So one place for task management, one place for communication.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And tip number 2.
Set up secure password sharing. Now, I have a client who has perhaps, maybe, I won't name names, confidentiality matters,
No,
okay?
no, nobody would ever
Um,
guess.
but I perhaps have a client who has had to have her support scrub people out of her business, like
Mhm.
different logins, different places, G drives, Canvas, everything, when things haven't worked out or when they've ghosted, like there's been some wonky situations. And the way that we can make sure that your business is secure is to set that up through a password app. Now, I use LastPass. That's almost exclusively what my clients are using as well. And There are other ones that do the same, but the function that you'll be using is where you can share the password with someone without them seeing it. Because we have a bazillion passwords now. I'm sure you have some duplicates in your business and maybe into your personal life. So you don't want them to know that your password is always pineapple explanation mark. Because then if that's also your password for your banking or for your personal email, right? So you can share passwords securely without them seeing it. And then when they have the app on their device, it will smart fill the password for them so they can access things without you having to upgrade your accounts for additional users. If you're trying to do this
Mhm.
with, like a team of two right now, you and a VA, you can keep those costs down and still share passwords securely. So I'm like, that's a must.
Yes. And I would like to tell a little horror story about that in my own business.
Oh, you've been through this as well.
Yeah, yeah. Just like your client, I've been through this.
Yeah, just like my client.
Yeah. So I, about 4 years ago, had a really big team working in my business, a WordPress team, a big website team. They had it was like you hired this firm and all of the pieces were in place in your business. And they were doing so much of my website work. And I was doing Facebook ads at the time because I was launching a course. And somehow she set herself up in my Facebook as the owner of my Facebook page in that ad situation. And I have just now, 4 years later, gotten ownership of my Facebook page back. I could post, but I couldn't do anything else. We couldn't use it for ads. There were just so many things that we were not able to access on that page. And I had built up almost 3,000 people on that page, who it was a very highly engaged page as well, because I was in there like a 2-4 all the time, building my community, and I completely lost access to it. And she would not do the things that needed to be done to get it back. So, I mean, that's kind of the worst case scenario. And it's not that rare. I'm hearing this over and over and over again in my mastermind that people have lost access to things because they've not been careful with their passwords. So it's a really big deal.
A very big deal. Thank you for sharing that because I think that people don't realize how common it has become in the industry.
Hmm.
And something I do with all of my clients and any like VA or OBM that I've like mentored or maybe been able to shadow a little bit and help them building their business is to always, if you are the VA or OBM, create things in the business owner systems. If you're
Hmm.
the business owner, to insist that they are built in your systems. Like,
Hmm.
and it can seem simple, but even Canva, you need stuff
Yep.
created in your own Canva because if
Yep.
they're no longer in business, if their relationship doesn't work out, if they have premium and they stop paying for their Canva, your assets are locked in their Canva,
Yeah.
right? Like that's a simple example, very simple. It can get much more complex.
Yeah. But
But
even
things
if
need to
they
be built
do
in
continue,
yours. Mhm. Sorry.
sorry, even if they do continue work, like you own that, you've paid for that. That's
Mhm.
your work. So it should be done in your system.
Absolutely. I like to the way that I explain this to people is when you're hired for someone, you're hired to work in their business, not in your own.
Hmm.
And so if they let you go tomorrow, if you have like a weather or a family emergency tomorrow, if you close your business tomorrow, their business should be entirely unaffected,
Yeah.
except
Yeah.
for that they need to hire someone. But like nothing in their business or system should break. And if it does, you're not doing your job.
Yeah. I love that.
That's a sidebar.
Yeah. So for anyone who's considering or who has trained as a bodygraph.com VA, that's something to keep in mind that yes, you are running your own business, but you are working in that person's business. Yeah. So thank you for that. Okay. So we are at tip 3, I believe.
Yes. So ensure that your how-to guides or SOPs, standard operating procedures, are ready to use. And we talked about these in part 2 of the series. So I'm sure you've already established them. But if
Uh,
you haven't, go back and listen to that.
I'll
Because
link
what
that
you
episode in the
want,
show notes.
yeah, thank you. Because what you want to have is task clarity. Because again, you're used to doing these things. So for you to explain them, you're probably going to miss some stuff, right? And
Hmm.
people can be visual. So write down things in bullet point as you're doing the tasks, and boom, you have what's called a standard operating procedure, an SOP. Or take a screen recording as you're doing it. Now you have a how-to video, but something that shows someone at like a novice level that they can do the task that you just did. These need to be ready so that you can train people and they can meet your expectations, right? It sets them up for success and it sets you up for happiness, really.
Yeah, and I think sometimes when we as entrepreneurs hear terms like SOPs and this sort of thing, we think, oh, and we kind of freeze. But Dan Martell, I love to listen to Dan Martell. If you've not yet, his book, his first book is Buy Back Your Time. And he's all about how if you're doing the $10 an hour tasks in your business, then you're way wasting your time, money, effort, all of the things, impact. But he talks about always, every time he goes to do a task that he thinks, oh my gosh, that could be outsourced, he immediately gets out his video camera or, like you said, a screen recording and records himself doing it. So he has a library. And I'm saying this and I'm like, Vicky, why are you not doing that in your business? The number of times that I have started people and not had those in place. So, my commitment today to you and to our listeners is that I'm going to get these SOPs in place in my business because
Um,
I can see we're onboarding a VA right now, and I can see how helpful it would have been had I had my act together and gotten these ready as we went along.
yeah, absolutely. And once you do them, they're done.
They're done. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you can piecemeal them, I love that approach. Just as you're doing tasks yourself, they're done.
Yeah.
If you need to take half a day and get them done, they're done. Like this
Yeah.
isn't something you really have to continue to revisit because as things change in industry and apps update, if you have someone in your business who's learned it, one of the tasks I invite you to hand off to a VA is if the if Canva does a major update, re-record the training video.
Hmm.
If whatever system you're using, right? If Trello does a major update, re-record that video for me so that the upkeep isn't on your plate anymore either.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. And with the bodygraph.com VA system, as new updates are done in our system at bodygraph.com, our team is retraining your VA. So that's one of the big pieces of the puzzle here is that there's no getting on support and wondering about like, how do I work with this update? It's like your VA is the first person that's going to get trained on that update before it's rolled out. And then they will be up to speed. So that's a big, big piece there as well. Number four.
Yes. Define what needs your eyes or approval on it and what doesn't. Now, this might evolve over time, so I also invite you to revisit this as that relationship grows. But when you think of those SOPs and tasks, what sort of things do you, for your own comfort, do you need to review or approve before it can get released out into the world? For example, if you have someone who you want to draft captions, but you need to actually finish and make the caption sound like you, or you want to see the reel. I'm picking on social right now, but do you want to see the
Mhm.
reel first? Let's talk Bodygraph instance, a reading report. If you have
Mm,
someone in there creating a reading report for you, like chances are you want to see it right before it's going out, whether it's free or paid. So define what people can go ahead and do and just run along and approve and post on your behalf and what needs your eyes on it. Be very, very clear on that. You may revisit that as the relationship grows and they get to know your brand a little bit more. But in the beginning, like you don't want to bring on a VA and all of a sudden, I'm going to pick on socials again, but someone says, oh, where did Vicky go? That's not Vicky. You
yeah.
don't want that in your business.
Yeah.
Or this new lead magnet comes out and you're like, this does not sound like Andrea. What's going on here?
Mhm.
So gatekeep a little bit there.
And the flip side of that would be know when to let go.
Oh, yeah, that's a great thing to bring up
Yeah,
because you cannot scale if you don't start to learn to let
exactly.
go, right? When it's appropriate. So,
Yeah. So all my type A's, my control freaks, my me looking in the mirror here, we have to understand how to actually let go in our businesses. And that could look like having, if you're enough in your business, having a monthly meeting where you get your eyes on everything all at once. It doesn't have to be that you completely let go, but there has to be some way that you understand you've got your hand on the pulse of the business and you trust your team. You trust that you've hired the right people and onboarded them well.
yeah, absolutely. Something else I've seen work well, just my brain was spinning a little bit there, is this likely isn't going to be a regular hire in your business, but let's say you're someone who's building a lot of funnels. Like maybe you're just like spitting out reading reports, right? And you're creating funnels for them. You might have someone who comes in and does an audit and a check on it. So
Hmm.
you have a VA that's building that report for you and putting your language into it. You're reviewing it and approving it. the VA goes and builds the funnel, and you have a third party come in and double check the work because no matter our design, I think we can be a little bit blind when we're checking our own work.
Yeah.
So you can always
And
have someone who pops in for a couple hours a month and checks everything. It's called, uh, I know you, this acronym has thrown you for a loop before, QA/QC, quality assurance and quality control.
yeah.
And there's people who do only that.
And make sure that the person that you are hiring for quality control has a clue what the freak they're doing in your business. Because we have been stung in my business where someone comes in to audit funnels and they've never done the things in their own business and they don't have a clue what they're looking at. And I've wasted like thousands of dollars on people who have stepped into my business. But I haven't had these checks in place. I
Mm,
haven't listened to what Andrea is telling me to do. I've just thought, okay, I can manifesting generator myself through this and do 16 things at once, but I can't. I have to slow my roll and go back to these
mm.
basics. So your quality control person has got to have done this many, many times before. They've got to be someone who actually knows what they're doing. And how you find out that they actually know what they're doing is that you go through the first three, part one, part two, part three of these VA episodes so that you know the right questions to ask and the right things to have in place.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, you know that that really grinds my gears in the industry. That could be an entirely separate episode, so I won't go off on
Yeah.
a tangent, but there you will run into people who claim that they can do something and they're not able to at that level, or they think they can watch a YouTube video and just do it, and that's not going to work with QA/QC. So do your checks.
I think that's more common in the industry than not, to be honest. And
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why Gittes was very adamant on this VA program for bodygraph.com because we were seeing our customers get hosed. We were
Yeah.
seeing our customers spend hundreds and thousands of dollars for basic
Mm,
tasks and still not have the things in place in their businesses that should have been in place. And so Gittes and Algus were like, okay, that's enough. The founders,
yeah.
that's enough. We are fixing this. We are not having our customers deal with these issues over and over again. So these certified VAs actually know what they're doing in our system and in your systems. And we guarantee it. They have been through our process. We are putting our stamp of approval. We're putting ourselves behind them. They have the support of our team behind them. So that's just one of the things. It drives us crazy to see this happening in businesses of our practitioners. We care too much to let that happen to you. So yeah.
Mm.
I think we're at tip number 5.
Yeah, we are. So tip number 5 is to book a kickoff call.
Mm,
So this is, yeah, just like hop on Zoom with them. This is a virtual world. Go over the tasks that you first reviewed in the interview stage. I hope you took notes or you're very familiar with what you talked about. You can always like throw the recording through AI if you need a refresher. But ensure that you're both on the same page with task assignment and task frequency.
okay, meaning.
So what is that VA actually doing? And is it clear that they're doing it? What do they need from you? That's called task dependency. So let's say if I'm going to go back to captions, they're writing a caption and they're creating the carousel graphic, but from you, they need you to do the copy editing and approval for them to then post it. They need to understand that workflow. Who does what in the task assignment? And then for frequency, if they're supposed to create 2 carousels a week, but somehow they think it's 2 carousels a month, and you guys haven't, checked the frequency of each task, that VA might think that they're killing it, and you're going to be like, what the hell are they doing? What the heck are they doing? So, sorry, what the heck are they doing? So we want clarity, right? Because you have expectations, and in order for your VA to meet them, they have to be very, very clear. And we want to set you both up for success.
Mhm. Clear is kind.
Yeah, clear is kind. I love that.
So how do you recommend actually starting your VA? You've hired, you're doing all of this onboarding work, you've got the systems in place, you've got your task management system, all of the things. Do you just like throw everything at them and hope for the best? How do you handle that part?
That is a perfect lead into tip 6. So we're going to jump right in, but it is start with a soft launch. And
Okay.
we talked briefly about this earlier in the series too, but this means rolling out tasks instead of flooding them. So
Hmm.
if you have 20 things that you want them to manage and to complete, start with 5. Like look at what that workload actually is and give them a chance to do 5 things really well.
Hmm.
And then up it to 7, up it to 10. You'll start to establish a pace, and it depends on what the tasks actually require, right? You're not just going to say, Andrea said 5, so we're starting with 5.
Yeah.
But you want to roll things out and give them a chance to deliver things to you. And you will get a sense from them the quality of their work when you do this because they're not being flooded, right, or overwhelmed in the beginning. You're going to get a sense for how they communicate. And you're going to get a sense of how and if they ask for clarity. And if any of that process with that soft launch creates like tension with you, or you'd like to see things done differently, or you had a different expectation, it gives you both a chance to revisit that. And it's a very natural conversation at that point to say, okay, in this like first stage of the soft launch, we just did these 5 things. These 4 went really, really well. I wouldn't change anything. Like, thank you for that. And this one, like, here's what I actually expected. Can I clarify that for you? Because chances are in the beginning, that person is what they need is clarity. As long as they have the
Mhm.
skill and you followed along in the series and they have the right skills because you've already done your vetting, chances are what they need is clarity, right? I think if you've done your job, it's not that you have someone who's incompetent. They need clarity.
Yeah. And I think that can be the biggest downfall for entrepreneurs is
Mhm.
because we know what we're doing and we know what we want and we are so in our businesses every day
Yeah,
that we miss that piece.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And a little sidebar for VAs, especially VAs who are, well, it's going to happen to everybody, but who are already established is I think sometimes business owners can think, oh, well, they've been a VA for 2 years. Okay, well, they've been a VA almost entirely in one industry and your industry is newer. Or yes, they've been a VA for 2 years, but they've had 2 or 3 larger ticket clients and they've just opened up capacity or there's been one spot turnover. So it can happen that yes, they have the experience in the industry, but they maybe haven't really worked, say, in the human design space before, or they've worked in the human design space, but never with someone who's using the Bodygraph chart software. So we just need to be aware that a VA who's been in the industry doesn't mean they've seen everything in the industry.
Yeah. And that's the same for us in our businesses. Like we have to
For
remember
sure it
that
is.
for ourselves. So
Yeah.
why wouldn't we extend that courtesy to someone else?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Bring it home with tip number 7.
Okay, tip number 7 is to schedule check-ins.
Mhm.
A performance check-in, you don't have to call it that, whatever feels good for you. Like reflection, I like, schedule a reflection. But I recommend them at 2 weeks, 1 week, and 3 months. 2 week,
2 weeks, 1 month, and 3 months, correct?
yes, thank you. Sorry about that. So I recommend them at 2 weeks, 1 month, and 3 months. The reason being is if you wait until 3 months, things are already
Mm.
off the rails, right? You cannot wait that long.
Hmm.
So I recommend like starting sooner. It also gives you a chance to establish a really good rapport because you're building a relationship
Hmm.
and it creates what I like to call stickiness, right? So when you find great support and when support finds a great client, you want to stick with each other.
Hmm.
And how you create that stickiness is to have check-ins, open communication, open dialogue. Yeah, so schedule those. Like right from kickoff call, say, are you available 2 weeks from today? What does 1 month from today look like for you? And let's schedule out 3 months and we can check in closer if we need to move it.
Hmm.
And in these check-ins, what we're going to look at is the tasks that you are already doing. SOPs that I provided, are they accurate? Have we revisited what we need to? Do you have everything you need from me? And then here's what I've had expectation-wise on this task. How can I clarify it for you? Open dialogue. But yeah, get those scheduled because if you wait until something's wrong in your business, it's likely
Hmm.
too late to pull it back together. And you could have a great candidate there that just, again, needed clarity.
Yeah. And I would imagine it's probably good for that person to be able to give you feedback as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. My brain, yes, absolutely.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
giving them the floor and the chance to do that, right? Because a relationship is a two-way street.
Hmm.
So they might say, like, I love that that's your expectation. And in order for me to meet that, I need this from you every Friday, right? If you send it to me Sunday at 8 p.m., I can't have it ready Monday at 7 a.m. So give them a chance to talk it through too.
Yeah. And I think as they get into your business, especially at the 3 month mark, they've been in your
Mhm.
business a little while. They might just see things that you can't see because you're so close to it. I have
Yeah.
that situation with in my own podcast with my own podcast editor. I now value his opinions so much, and he will like go to the mat with me and say, like, this is the thing that needs to be done next. And if I don't want to do it, he's like, okay, but let me explain to you why I think it would help. So
Yeah.
it's relationship. It's
Mhm.
another asset in your business that you can really tap into once you have this good flow of communication.
I love that. And as you said that, my mind went back to, of course, human design, right? So
Yeah.
we're here. But because I'm assuming you know their design. I hope that you pulled their
Yes,
design in the
definitely.
hiring process.
Yeah.
I forget if we said that, but I hope that you did. Um, Keep an eye on their design for these check-ins. There might be an invitation to them where sometimes you'll see something in them that they haven't seen in themselves.
Hmm.
Or there's something that they can provide that you weren't necessarily hiring for, but now they're ready and you're ready because the relationship has evolved and you've had these check-ins and you've built the rapport. So especially when you get to that 3 month mark, is there another hat they can wear? Is there something else they can take off your plate? Is there a gap in your business that they're like, hey, because
Yeah.
I have gate this,
Yeah.
what I'm seeing is, and it could be a blind spot for you. So,
Okay. And as a business owner, I'm going to just throw two more things in here because these things really matter to me. One thing is that we all need to be recognized. Most of us
mm,
have some area where recognition is important in our design, and your VA is no different. So recognize them for doing things well. They may not be aware of the things that they're doing well because it may come naturally to them and they need to be recognized. And the other thing is consider, I'm not saying that you have to pay more than they're asking, but if you have a VA who is affordable and is kick ass, throw some candy sometimes. Like, I just am a big believer in treating people well for jobs well done. I was that way in my store for my employees. Like, it's important. Part of recognition is money. It's how we do things in business, money or gifts or other things. And I'm not saying that you have to be lavish or anything, but is it time for your VA after 3 months to have a raise? Maybe, maybe not. Is it time? Maybe they've worked on a great big project in your business and you've made $40,000 on that big project that they've done. Do they need to have a bonus or a treat? I would think that's something that might be worth considering in your business because people will do more in your business. They will buy more into your vision if they feel a part of it. And I think that's an excellent way to make people feel a part of it.
mm, I love that. And I will echo, you do a great job of that. And I've always loved that in your business
Thank you.
because I've seen you do that consistently in like other businesses that you've run as well.
Hmm.
And to me, it goes back to that in the industry. Like right now, the trending term is sticky, right? Like
Mm,
you're creating that like stickiness in a relationship because people are being appreciated and that feels so different
yeah.
than, you know, working through the steps day after day.
Yeah. It's employee retention. It's like
It is.
101 employee retention, but we forget about
Yeah,
that sometimes in the online space, I think.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've even seen like write a card. Like if you're
Mm,
not in a position this month or this quarter to put something monetary behind it and you'd like to scale to that, pop a card in the mail.
yeah.
Send like a handwritten note these days
Yeah.
really says a lot too, right? So um scale to it. Maybe there's a $5 Tim's card. I'm in Canada, so Tim's, but
Yeah.
um yeah, like that can be an aspiration to scale to too. But to your point, I think like it doesn't have to be lavish, but you can
Hmm.
start somewhere.
Yeah. It can be words. It can be words of
Yeah,
affirmation.
I
Absolutely.
love words.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. All right. So, any parting thoughts on this whole VA situation now that we've been through a 4 part series? Any parting thoughts for our listeners?
I would say go back and listen to all four if you haven't.
Hmm.
Um, and if I could leave you with the fact or the statement that you deserve to have the support that you desire,
Mm.
give yourself the time to find it and to call it in because you deserve it and you will feel so, so different in your business and in your day to day when you call it in.
I was going to let you have the last word, but I think I have to say something to that. I
Go
think it
ahead.
might have been an episode in part 1, But I think the very best tip that you gave in this whole process is hire when you're at about 70 to 80% capacity. Don't wait until you're at 100% capacity. And I think that having support in your business I know that having support in your business is the key to scaling. You're not going to have a business that scales if you don't have a team. Because you can't do it all on your own. None of us can do it all on our own. Yeah. Okay, well, I appreciate you being here with us for all of these. And Andrea and I are cooking up some other juicy things that we're going to be putting into Business Mastery Hub in the form of trainings to help you grow your business. And Business Mastery Hub is free with your bodygraph.com subscription. So there's lots and lots of great stuff coming. I'm not going to tease it out here. Just follow along, and we will see you in the next episode. Bye.